Hey everyone, Lightning4554 here, and today I just wanted to quickly make a comparison between Perfect Drums versus DW Soundworks. DW Soundworks is a new drum library that came out about, I'd say, 2 weeks ago now, and it has kind of not received as much attention as I thought it would have, because everyone who was a Perfect Drums owner, which is this library right here, everyone who had this library received an email saying that DW Soundworks was going to be the continuation. It was going to be number 2, actually, of Perfect Drums. It just happened to be rebranded, renamed, and in partnership with DW and Roland. However, now that it's out, a lot of people don't really seem to be talking about this one. But what I have seen from the people that are talking about it, a lot of people do not like the way this library sounds. So today I wanted to compare Perfect Drums to DW Soundworks, because I felt as though there isn't as many demos on the internet right now of DW Soundworks, and not that many people are talking about DW Soundworks apart from the people that actually own the DWE kit, which is what this software is mainly made for. But besides that, I really wanted to go ahead and make like a demo / example video to show you what the differences are between these two and what the strengths and cons are of these two as well, which I think is very, very important here. So let's get started. Naughty Seal Audio's Perfect Drums was released in about 2017. And since that time, it got an update in 2020 and is still regarded as one of the best drum sample libraries that we currently have. However, if you are an owner of Perfect Drums, you had received an email about, let's say, a week before the launch of DW Soundworks, stating that DW Soundworks was going to be the replacement, the Perfect Drums 2 that everyone has been waiting for. And now it's here. It's released and we have it, and a lot of people really don't like it. A lot of people think that DW Soundworks sounds like plastic. A lot of people think that it's not anywhere near as close as Perfect Drums. Today, I wanted to make a demo kind of demonstrating the strengths, the flaws, the weaknesses of each program, and see what they improved on, what they backpedaled on, and what are things that we can expect in the coming updates for Soundworks. Okay, so let's talk price. DW Soundworks right now is $200 US. And $200 US is a pretty okay price when it comes to drum libraries. A lot of drum libraries do cost that amount, and usually they come with a lot of features packed. Now, Perfect Drums, on the other hand, I have checked their website and it seems like they've removed the ability to purchase this software now. However, before it was removed, back when it was first released, I believe it was $200 as well. However, over time, once it got the updates and stuff, and obviously before this one came out, the price came down to, I think, about $175 or $160, I think it was. And they would run sales a lot on Perfect Drums on the software. So you were able to get this software for basically $75 at one point on its lowest sale. Now, for DW Soundworks, if you were a previous Perfect Drums owner, you got a coupon in your email for 50% off, meaning that you would get DW Soundworks for only $100. Now, it's basically kind of like an upgrade discount, supposedly. Of course, this isn't the same software, so I can't really say that it's a upgrade of any kind. I would say that it's just buying outright a new software, because yes, it's using the same technology. If you look here, you can see similarities in the UI, especially in like the mixer and stuff. You can see a lot of similarities. However, it's just that there's more things and a lot of different things about Soundworks that is completely different than Perfect Drums. And the sample set is one of the things that I think is the biggest difference. So with that point, let's talk about the sample set here. The sample set is pretty good on Perfect Drums. On Perfect Drums, it was a really good sample set. It's one of those sample sets that people really were impressed by because of just how many different versions of different cymbals there were here and how many brands they had of actual name brand cymbals. Because in a lot of the other drum libraries, you will see that usually, they have maybe like 2-3 snares or maybe like 5 different snares, but then they won't have like 6 different toms, or you would have like 5 or 7 different kicks, but you wouldn't have that many hi-hats, for example. It was always very limited in their selection, and for some reason it was always the case that like you couldn't have a lot of snare and kick samples if you wanted more tom samples or more cymbal samples. Now, Perfect Drums was kind of the answer to that because they had a giant sample set for almost everything, even toms, even kicks for snare, and all of these samples sounded very good. They're very cleanly recorded. And they all sounded great, and you can mix and match as many parts as you wanted to create your ideal drum tone. Now, DW Soundworks, on the other hand, this one's a little bit more complicated, I'd say. It's a bit hard to say that the sample set is anywhere near the same as this because it's not. The sample set on DW Soundworks is primarily DW focused for obvious reasons. And the sample set for a lot of the stuff that you see here is very limited. So as you see here, they now have it set in packs. That's one of the biggest differences, I'd say, in terms of the samples for each program, that DW Soundworks uses packs, whereas Perfect Drums just had an entire library and catalog, essentially, of sounds, not necessarily like a singular kit, and that's it. So DW Soundworks has packs like the 50th anniversary, the Maple Mahogany, Pure Almond, Pure Maple, and then they had 2 other ones, which was a Slingerland Vintage Kit and a Gretsch Custom USA. Now, if you look at the sample sets between each of these, you'll see that it's about maybe like 2 or 3 or even sometimes just 1 drum. And for cymbals, it's the same thing. It's not that many. It's usually about like 1 or 2 cymbals for every other thing here. So if you see, most of them only have 2 kicks, then some of them have like 2-3 snares. And then usually all of them only have like 1 tom and like 1 cymbals for each cymbal. And it's okay, I guess, because you have packs. However, it's like if you buy this software, all these packs come with it. You don't have to buy these separately, by the way. At least it did when I bought it. I'm not sure if that's going to be the same for everybody, but I do believe it should be. So the sample size has been, I'd say, reduced, especially because of the fact that now the sample size is basically 1 brand. And I think the biggest limiting factor right now in sample size is the cymbals. So the cymbals, we have different cymbals for different kits here. However, I think that we have less samples for cymbals like hi-hats than we did in the previous version and iteration of Perfect Drums. Now, granted, DW Soundworks doesn't have as big of a selection size as Perfect Drums, but Naughty Audio themselves have stated in emails saying that we're going to be getting a legacy library of the Perfect Drums samples and kit pieces and transfer them over to DW Soundworks. When is that going to be? I have no idea. I'm not sponsored by any of these companies, and I have no idea of anything here. But that's what was said in the emails. And personally, I will trust the emails of Naughty Audio. So for one thing I really want to touch on for both of these sample libraries is the sheer size and scale that it takes on your hard drive and not in terms of sample size and kit pieces. So Perfect Drums, I checked on my hard drive to see how much space it takes and about how much I would have to sacrifice for storage. And it's about 8 gigs. That's not bad. A lot of drum sample libraries don't take too much, especially if they're well optimized and well compressed. Now, DW Soundworks, on the other hand, the Gretsch USA custom kit alone is 8 gigabytes. And the DW Maple Mahogany kit is about 16 gigs. In total, I think this, if I did the math, in total, it will be about 40 to 50 gigs alone right now with every single kit that I have installed from DW Soundworks. Now, what does that mean? It could mean that they probably just haven't compressed any of the samples and it's probably all lossless waves, unlike Perfect Drums, I'm pretty sure. I believe, if I remember correctly, that Perfect Drums has its own custom file format that compresses all the samples into a smaller set. Now, what does that mean? All the sounds so that it's more compact and more easily portable. CPU usage for drum libraries, and any library in that matter, is very important, especially if you're running on a lower end machine or laptop. I think it's very important for you to realize that you might be bottlenecking your computer if you get a library that is not well optimized or is very CPU intensive for everything that it runs. So here's Perfect Drums, and this is a metal track, a short metal track that I composed in order for you guys to get an idea of the sound. However, I'm going to be playing that a little bit later, but I am going to be putting Perfect Drums here on a little section and let it do its thing. And this is I'm going to show my CPU usage real quick to you guys. So here I have the performance meter in FL Studio. This is a plugin in FL that shows everything and how much CPU everything in the DAW is currently taking. So here's my Perfect Drums. I'm going to play this short demo. This is a piece I composed for you guys so you guys can get a sound of it, but I'll be playing that later in the video. Here is the amount of CPU that Perfect Drums takes. This is the percentage right here. And I'm playing one of the more intense sections right now. And it seems to be doing pretty well. I think the maximum I'm seeing here right now is like 21, 18. However, it doesn't seem to be budging all that much from its current position. And it seems to be doing pretty good on CPU. And even up here, the part that you can't see, my performance meter in FL is saying that everything's perfectly fine and it's not jumping and it's not showing any drastic changes in CPU. Now, if I was to stop, restart this and click and switch it over to Soundworks, Soundworks is already using about 3 to 4 times the amount of the CPU that Perfect Drums was using. That's a little bit worrisome for a lot of people that may have lower end hardware and may need something that's more well optimized. Of course, Perfect Drums has a larger sample set, so it could be the fact that there's more round robins and more dynamic layers, which there is. That's one of the more important factors of this library, that there's a lot more dynamics and a lot more samples. So quickly, to get back to samples for a second, DW Soundworks has dynamic layers of up to 18 dynamic layers, I believe, which is really insane for a lot of drums. A lot of drum sample libraries don't have 18 layers of dynamic range. That's crazy, which means that you can get very precise, very realistic sounding layering going on with your drums, and also very realistic dynamics with your drums, which is very important for a lot of people who do crazy, more intricate stuff. Now, I think it's only fair for you guys to make up your mind by listening to the demo. So without further ado, I'm going to let you guys listen to the demo track that I made. All right, without further ado, here is the full mix with Perfect Drums. All right, and next, here is the full mix with DW Soundworks. Okay, so I had to show you guys that after post-production because I couldn't do a live demonstration here in the DAW because of the fact that DW Soundworks uses so much CPU and my CPU was getting bottlenecked with having Ozone and Soundworks playing and the recording like all at the same time. And that led to a lot of pops and clicks and I didn't want to have that in the recording. So in my final thoughts with the mix, I prefer the sound of Perfect Drums because the way that they come out of the box is very, very mix ready and it sounds great. So to demonstrate that, I decided to make a little demo here by giving the benefit of the doubt to Soundworks, because Soundworks actually has a grooves page here with an entirely built-in like mini kind of DAW, if you want to call it that allows you to essentially just drag and drop MIDI files that they have here and put it in. As you see here in Perfect Drums doesn't have that at all. Realize that they both do have samplers, so you can make your own samples and your own sample sets and then use it in combination with the sample sets of Perfect Drums to make like kind of a blended drum tone that's very unique and maybe yours. So I decided to just go ahead and take this MIDI here of just like a intro, a verse, and a ending, I think just a fill, and that's it. And then afterward, I put like a little hit at the end just to have the ring of like the cymbals and stuff. And so then I put that and translated it to Perfect Drums and DW Soundworks. All right, now word of note, DW Soundworks has a very interesting MIDI setup, and it's because of the fact that it's supposed to be linked with the DWE kit, which is like a very expensive, like $6,000 kit that's supposed to be in tandem with this software. If you look here, if you see these articulations here, this is supposed to be for the cymbal pads that it comes with, and you're supposed to be able to adjust everything on this MIDI page right here. And right here, it shows you all of the different articulations that we have at our disposal. However, if you don't have the cymbals if you don't have the cymbals or the triggers or just the drum kit in general, you won't be able to access every single sound that you have here, because you won't be able to access everything unless if you go in and map every single MIDI. Now, on the other hand, Perfect Drums has a more unanimous and similar layout to that of just general MIDI drums. However, it does include a lot more. So here is the MIDI for Perfect Drums. It's a lot more simple and laid back, and it's much easier to understand than DW Soundworks. Now, having said that, I decided to give benefit of the doubt to DW Soundworks and use its own groove to compare the two sounds here. Raw, this has zero processing on it, and these are the default presets for each. So here with Perfect Drums, we are currently on the very first preset that you get as soon as you load up. I will even click it here. I clicked it here, so now it's loaded into the first preset, and this is completely raw. This has no post-processing on my part, and this has no mastering chain or anything like that. It is the raw sound out of the box, what you would hear in your DAW if you open Perfect Drums right now. And here you go. Okay, and here's DW Soundworks. Okay, so after comparing the two back to back, first and foremost, I want to get this clarified, that I do not like the MIDI grooves that are included with almost any drum library, because they all sound very stiff and rigid, and a lot of them don't really make good use of the drum samples that are at its disposal. The only ones that I think I've ever enjoyed and made use of the drum samples very, very well was from the MT Power Kit, which is a free kit, and those MIDI were tailored to that kit and very good for it. Now, with that being said, I personally think that if you're a person who really enjoys raw samples and raw recordings of drums, and you love to tweak and mix the drums yourself, DW Soundworks is going to be a perfect library for you, because there is no processing already done on these samples. At least that's what it sounds like to me. I think personally the only samples that have been processed are like the cymbals for a little bit, and that's basically it. But apart from cymbals, that is it. Everything else is pretty raw. This kit is very raw and it's very dry as well, even though there is an ambience knob and overheads. I personally think you get a lot more flexibility here in terms of mixing and creating your own sound with these drums than you do with Perfect Drums, because Perfect Drums is kind of more locked into a processed, ready to mix out of the box kind of sound. That's the only thing I think is a real strength with DW Soundworks. Because if you go to Perfect Drums here, just from the snare drum sample alone, you can hear how much more processed it is, how much more mix ready it is compared to DW Soundworks. Now, after basically ragging on DW Soundworks for a little bit, I gotta tell you my full and honest opinion. I personally like it. I think that it's a good drum library if you're a person that really loves natural sounding drums and are really willing to go in and spend some time with a drum software that will give you a lot. Now, words of notes and cons that I have found so far about DW Soundworks. First and foremost, the software currently in its current stage is a little bit unstable. I've had FL Studio crash about 2 times because of DW Soundworks, and that was pretty annoying to deal with because I didn't have any presets made, so I had to go in and tweak everything again and basically make a new preset, and it didn't sound the same as the old one, obviously. Secondly, I don't really like how much space DW Soundworks takes on my hard drive, but because because of the fact that I'm a multimedia composer, I do understand that sample libraries are huge in size. Now, some pros that I do like a lot about DW Soundworks: the mixing page is honestly very, very good, and the routing is also very easy to manage, and it gives you so many options in terms of stereo outs and mono outs. It's way better than Perfect Drums ever was. And the tuning system is a little bit more nuanced and a little bit better, in my opinion, in DW Soundworks, as well as the fact that you now have some easier to read knobs and you have more routing within the software itself, which is much, much easier to read and much easier to use. As well as when you do equalizer, you have an entire EQ. You also have dynamics and compression that you can all tweak, and saturation, as well as a separate reverb that you can go ahead and tweak for every single piece of the kit and more, because you can add more kits. You can add right here, if you click this little button right here, you can add about 10 more pads, which is basically 10 more triggering places to trigger samples, which is crazy. Of course, I don't like the fact that there is a very limited selection in samples, but right now it's in its infancy. And I personally think that we're going to be, once we get the Perfect Drums samples on DW Soundworks, that's going to be golden. And I think that this software is going to be a good replacement for Perfect Drums. Now, if we don't get the presets of Perfect Drums, I think that will also be a very big drawback, because I think one thing that really drew a lot of people to Perfect Drums was the fact that it was mix ready out of the box with the presets that it had. Perfect Drums holds a special place in my heart because I used it a lot. I used to use a lot of Get Good drums, which I still do, and I have Extinction Level Event from Spectre Sound Studios, or Spectre Digital, and I like both of them, but I've always geared towards Perfect Drums a little more because I thought that the sound that it gave me was more of that modern metal, a little bit more processed sound. And of course, depending on who you are, you might like more articulations, you might like more raw recordings, or you might like a completely different sound that I have no idea. Now, to end this video off, I will say that Perfect Drums is going to be dearly missed by so many people because it was such a good library and it was amazing. And I personally think that there is no replacing Perfect Drums. I think there's only adding on to it. Now, do I think that DW Soundworks is the Perfect Drums 2? No, it is not the Perfect Drums 2 at all. I personally think that that's one mistake that people have been making recently, where it's that they think that that DW Soundworks is supposed to be Perfect Drums 2, when in reality, it's not. Real quick, I just wanted to record this voiceover to say, I know that they advertised it as Perfect Drums 2, but I personally think it's not. Soundworks is its own thing, made for its own specific reason, which is for the DWE kit. But as just a plugin and standalone, it still sounds pretty good and holds up really well, especially if you're willing to take the time to go in and tweak a lot of the presets that it comes with. Now, if you're a previous Perfect Drums owner that wants a more processed sound and only wanted maybe, let's say, like a little bit more fine tuning in the mixer, don't get DW Soundworks and don't shell out the $100 if you don't feel the need to, because you can in Perfect Drums route out all of the mixers and faders in order for you to go into a normal mixer in a DAW, so you can then process it yourself and have more fine tuning there. Now, having checked back on perfectdrums.com, which is Naughty Seal Audio's website for Perfect Drums, there doesn't seem to be a way to buy the library anymore. They had it at a major discount for about a week before the launch of DW Soundworks, and I think that was just to get as many people to learn about Perfect Drums, but also to learn about DW Soundworks coming in the future, and then those people could then get a discount before the launch of DW Soundworks. However, I think that now that DW Soundworks has launched, they are no longer going to be selling just standard Perfect Drums anymore, especially considering that they're going to be moving the entire library that we have here from Perfect Drums to DW Soundworks. I think that that's the reason why we can no longer buy Perfect Drums standalone. Now, if you want to buy Perfect Drums, you have to buy DW Soundworks. However, the update for the Perfect Drums Legacy library is not out yet. So I think when that comes out, I'll probably make a new video to compare if they are the same thing and if not. One thing I think I forgot to mention throughout the entire video is that DW has a good set of YouTube videos that they have made and uploaded to their own channel for DW Soundworks. So if you wanted to, you should go check out those videos if you want to get DW Soundworks, because then it will let you see more of the features and capabilities of the software instead of just having only the recordings to go by. But I hope that my video was able to give you to help you get a better sense of the sounds of each library and also what exactly can be done and cannot be done with these libraries, and to show you a small demo with them. So anyway, I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you on the next one. See ya.